Hi, I'm Mark Baer. Welcome to the YourTown television program. My guest this morning, Paula MacNab. Hello there.
Good morning, Mark. What a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
Okay, and we're bringing this show back. You were one of the hosts previously. I was one of the hosts previously.
Right.
We are both boosters for the community.
Yeah.
You grew up in the community.
I did.
Let's talk about you a little bit. Carmel High.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Well, first of all, I am thrilled that we are bringing YourTown back to the airwaves. I think a lot of people have missed it, so this is very exciting to get this off the ground, and thank you for including me on helping you do that.
And thank you for helping me get this.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's good. We're gonna make this great.
We're giving it an effort. Let's start with your book, Passion for Design, and let's hold that up for the audience, if you would.
Yeah. So, Passion by Design is the name of a book I wrote a few years ago with my co-author, Sandy Peckinpah. And Sandy is, many of you in the film industry might know the name Sam Peckinpah, a cult director. Well, Sandy I actually introduced to his nephew, David, who was also in Hollywood for many years. So when I came up with a concept for Passion by Design, and I'll explain that in a moment, I realized that I needed a professional author, and so I went to Sandy Peckinpah to co-author the book with me, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. But Passion by Design was born out of an experience I had, Mark, one time many years ago when I was designing a huge project in the Silicon Valley area. And I went back to probably use the bathroom, to the master suite, and I walked into it, and there was what I call my Joan of Arc moment. It was as though I heard a voice in my head. There were clothes strewn on the exercise bike. There was a dog bed. There was a huge TV in the bedroom. People always ask me as a designer about televisions in bedrooms. And I heard this voice say, I wonder if the state of their relationship parallels the state of their bedroom. And Passion by Design was born. And it is all about how we create our lives, how we are in charge of our lives, and how we design our lives.
So this is great. And so let's talk first of all about our community a little bit. Growing up here, what are the changes that you've seen?
I've been so blessed. First of all, every single day that I wake up and I look out the window, I go, thank you, because I get to live here. And because I had very pioneering parents who settled on the Big Sur coast in Paula, Colorado Canyon many years ago, we won't say how many. I had the privilege of going to school actually at a one-room schoolhouse, which I don't tell very many people, but I've just outed myself, at Paula, Colorado School. And I got a fantastic, fantastic education there because we got loads of attention. So I'm passionate about education, for one thing. I'm passionate about beauty. I looked out every day to the Pacific Ocean. In fact, I got the teacher in trouble one day because I led the entire school across Highway 1, which was very treacherous. Probably one car every 4 hours came by. And I was an explorer, and I still am. So when I see the changes in this community, some are really wonderful, some are not so great, in my opinion. I firmly believe in a balance of progress and respect for the past and history.
I mean, I think it looks much like it did in the past. I think that's here. I mean, you notice it more than your roots are deeper than my roots here.
Yes.
But it does look much like it did.
Well, what I see happening, Mark, if I can address that, and one thing that I think is really quite wonderful is there are design review boards. Now, I know the design review boards, because I've been on them, can make people crazy. But they do serve a very powerful purpose, and it's to provide the continuity of the look of the community and make sure that as growth happens, it is really making sense and keeping Carmel what Carmel is. And I've traveled around the world, as I know you have. Anytime, anywhere, I say to someone, I'm from Carmel, Pebble Beach, they know this area. So we're obviously doing something really right.
I hated them when I was building my house.
I know you did.
And
Everybody
then,
does.
as soon as my house was built, I sure didn't want anybody else.
Absolutely.
I was all for them afterwards.
You bet. And
So,
you know what? It's just the way it rolls, you know.
Yeah.
You know. And Monterey is so amazing with the history, the historical background here, which I know some of our hosts are going to go into in depth. So we really want you viewers to keep an eye out for future programming because it's going to be great. But Monterey has an amazing history. Pacific Grove has its own flavor with being a Methodist tent camp town originally. Carmel Valley, if you go 5 miles out, you're in the sunshine even if we're socked in here. So we've got it all.
So again, one of our tenets here for this show is we're going to remind you never to be blasé about where you are.
Right.
This is a special place. It's an amazing place. It's a privilege to live here. I walk up, you know, I wake up in the morning and I walk across and look out the view to the coffee machine and I go, wow, this is okay. You know, you don't have, when you live in a paradise, you don't have the right to be blasé. You have you cannot let it be invisible.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that people keep that in mind.
Yes.
Or else get out.
Yeah. All right, out of here.
You know, there's not enough room here for people who really aren't you know, feeling lucky.
I think most of us who live here do feel very, very lucky.
Yeah. So let's one of the things you're involved in as a realtor, and let's talk about we were talking before we started rolling about just so many of us just look at houses for entertainment here.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. And I will tell you, Mark, I confess, I always swore I would never be a realtor because everyone and their dog is a realtor in Carmel. Some of the dogs are really good realtors because they get a lot of attention. But it became a natural progression for my interior design business, which I've owned for over 25 years. I know construction, I know housing, I love houses. To your point about, you know, entertainment, I stop at open houses. I did even before
Can we stop
did
here?
it professionally.
The name of your the name of your design business, please.
My design business is Passion by Design, and that's the interior design piece of it. And I expanded that to add my real estate license a couple of years ago. And the thinking behind that is now that I can sell fixtures, furnishings, and the front door. So I can do it all for you.
Let's say that one more time.
Fixtures, furnishings, and the front door.
Yeah, that's too much of a tongue twister for me. So I'm
I
leaving
wouldn't
that
make
for
you
you.
do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't make you do that.
Okay, so let's go back to our passion for houses.
Right,
Okay.
right. Well, there are so many different architectural styles, and people say to me, as a designer and as a realtor, they say, Paula, what is your favorite style? And truth be told, I appreciate fine architecture, I appreciate fine design, and I've come to appreciate, quite candidly, years ago I did not care for Victorian design. And I was hired kind of inadvertently by a client who said, oh, Paula, we've got a Victorian. This is in the Silicon Valley. And I went, okay. Well, I dived into it. I learned about the history. I learned why the Victorians, what they were doing, you know, socioeconomically at that time, why those colors, why those designs, and I came to so appreciate it. And Pacific Grove is loaded with Victorians. So now when I drive by, I have a deeper appreciation. So I appreciate good design regardless of what it is.
Yeah. So what I appreciate here so much, my passion is for clean line, glass. You know,
We're seeing more of that on the
I love
peninsula.
good glass because, again, what's so important here is what's outside.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always integrate. In fact, I will walk around a house, whether I'm looking at it from a realtor point of view or a designer point of view, I will always walk outside the house and look at it from all aspects and see how is the house situated on the lot? Where does the front door face? Does that face to the east, where you get the sunrise in the morning and the sun is in the kitchen? And I look at the orientation, and it tells you a lot about how you're going to live in that home, which is where I get very, very passionate and involved, because our homes are where we live. They're the stages of our lives, and we can control that.
In fact, anymore, who wants to leave home?
Who wants to leave home?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I hate to say that,
Yeah,
but
it's a good thing.
What's your relationship with architects? Do you, especially if will you come into a remodel? Will you come into a a tear down and a fix up?
Yes.
And a,
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little
Right.
bit.
Ideally, the way you get a very good result is if you gather your team together at the very beginning, so everyone's on the same page. And I'm a great team player. I believe in it strongly. I think the client gets a much better result when we're all working in tandem, working together, rather than someone saying, oh, well, that, pointing fingers, well, that darn designer or that contractor or that architect, where we're all a great brain trust, is what one of my clients years ago said. He said, I've got an amazing brain trust. And I thought, yes, you do, because the architect looks at space. I look at how to fill the space. Together, we're a perfect team, and the builder makes that happen. So when I'm looking at the team, I look very carefully at who's assembled, who's going to be working with me, and it's great fun.
And then I assume much of your job with your clients is to be a good listener. It's not about your passion, it's about their passion.
Absolutely true. And so much of what I love about what I get to do, Mark, is I get to interpret what you don't say and what you don't know how to say, because people don't have the design vernacular that I have. They don't know that that might be a Bauhaus design. So they won't know to say that, but I'll know through a process I developed years ago about how to bring that out. Then I can repeat back to them, say, this is what you like clean lines, you like great function, you like, and when your head is doing this, like yours is doing, I know I'm on track with you. So that's the process that I use to develop that and get on the same page with the client.
Then I found in design and in architecture, a lot of clients will come in and they'll have in mind, everybody has a movie in their head, and they're kind of seeing it from, how somebody walking into their house would see it, rather than them living in their house as they really live.
Right, right.
And you have to, and I see this with a lot of extra ceremonial space.
Right,
I see this design in rooms that I know no one's ever going to go into.
Absolutely.
That you see an anonymity that doesn't necessarily reflect the people.
Right.
And you have to get people over those hurdles.
Right. Well, we live differently now than we used to. And for example, and I'm working with some wonderful clients right now, many of us enter through our garages. We no longer go through our front doors. And so years ago, I designed for a client out in Carmel Valley a beautiful art gallery, because they were going to pull into their multi-car garage, and they were never going to use their front door, which was, oh, by the way, 400 feet away. This is a big house. So I made their entry that they saw every day an art gallery with coved ceilings, beautiful lighting, niches for the art, gorgeous tile floor, because that was going to be their front foyer. So we live differently now than we used to. Dining rooms are used a couple times a year. Family rooms that people think, oh, I'm just going to put the cheap furniture in there because, it's going to be trashed. That's where you live.
The kitchen and your bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it evolves. It's fascinating. I'm always interested in how different cultures live as well.
And then let's talk about, again, we live in a special place where we have a churning community. We have two things going on here. We have a churn about every 8 years, it seems, that there's a new crowd in town. And then we have the 4-monthers.
Right,
and the 4-monthers add a lot to this community.
Absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of
and I guess we should explain what those are.
Well, right. I guess we don't assume that everyone knows. What Mark's referring to is the people who come in and spend the long summers here, and often come from very hot climates, whether it's Oklahoma or Texas or the Central Valley, where it's really, really hot. and they want the cool, they want the Carmel fog, and they want to cool off.
And they don't want California taxes.
And they, well,
that's
why they're
4-monthers.
That's another topic.
Yeah.
But they do add a great deal of verve and life to the community, and I've become great friends with them walking on the beach. And you pick up these great friends, and I still correspond with lots and lots of them. So I welcome them and I enjoy them. Yeah.
And just as you mentioned, it is a lovely lifestyle here. Where your social life is, where you can take a meeting. I'll meet you at 12, and we'll take a walk on the beach,
right.
and we'll do our meeting that way.
Right. Exactly. Or where you can get on your bike, which I do,
yeah.
and I go down to Trader Joe's with the little bike baskets on the back, and ride home with my baguette and my bottle of wine on the back of my bicycle.
Yeah.
So it's a great lifestyle.
And one of the things here is that I have found it really is as good as it looks.
It really is.
I was, because I came from a city, I came from Los Angeles, and I was very, a little dubious of being in a small town.
Sure.
It's like, what am I going to do? What, I'm going to be bored to death. And you've got one of everything at least.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have time to have relationships with people.
Right.
You get the luxury of having friends that you can actually get to, that
right.
you can actually see every once in a while.
Well, it's true. We get to know the people who are entertaining us at the Cypress Inn. We get to know Debbie Davis, the singer.
Yeah.
We become friends. We get to know the winemakers. We get to know the chefs on first name basis. We get to know the artists, the authors. It's pretty amazing.
So we're going to use this show as just to keep poking people, to let them know, don't be bored, or you got to go. Don't be blasé, or you got to go, because this is a special, magical, wonderful place. And if you grew up here and have just been here, you're going to stay, but I want you to know that you're somewhere special.
You're tougher than I am, Mark. You're tougher. I'm the nicer one.
But
here,
it is special, and
it's
it is
amazing.
magical, and it has potential.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're going to use this show to introduce the community to some of the amazing people here.
Right. Right.
And
well, the program,
because we want to meet them.
That's right. We want to meet them. And the program that I'm going to be hosting, I'm going to plug this really quickly. I'm going to be interviewing all kinds of people who deal with the fabulous lifestyle. It'll be the architects, the restaurant people, the artists, so on and so forth. So there'll be lots of exciting guests.
Okay. Well, I thank you.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
This is Paula MacNab that I'm with. I'm Mark Baer. You're watching YourTown television program. We'll be back.